Hi, I'm Leah. I'm Elastic's head of HR. And I thought it'd be fun as we're celebrating our 10 years as a company to tell you a little bit about how we got to where we are and what a ride it's been. Today at Elastic, we're just over 2,800 elasticians across 42 very global workforce across 42 countries, representing 97, and I think approaching just over 100 actually nationalities as we grow. It's been like riding a rocket, and I was reflecting back. I've been at Elastic nearly 6 years to my introduction, and 6 years ago, I sent out a note to the entire company and asked for as many people as they could in their native language to tell me how to ask for a beer, thinking that would be a good icebreaker. And dozens of emails came back. Then we had to go through a whole understanding how to do it phonetically. And that was my introduction to this very, very global company. As you can see, over the past few years, we've been on just a super steep trajectory in terms of where we've been going with our employees. And one of the things about Elastic that's been special from the start is that we've always been distributed by design. So our current employees, our elasticians, as we like to call them, are spread around the globe. And like I said, we're in 42 countries right now. About 55% of our elasticians are in the Americas, about 35% or 30% or so are in Europe and Africa, and the remaining elasticians are spread across Asia. And when I started, we were about 250 people, and it looked much different. We were only in about 20 countries. But we have, like I said, been distributed from the get-go. So as everyone's getting smart to the advantages that brings, just from being able to do the best work wherever you want to do it, and what we like to talk about how we've been doing it all along. One of the things as we've grown that's really been important to help kind of bind us together is our source code. And we created our source code probably about 3 years ago. And it came out of a night of imagining just like, what are the things that make Elastic that Shai spent kind of writing them down over a couple of whiskeys at a bar in Japan. And these evolved over time to this set of ideas that we really hold on to from everything that we think about, from how we assess our talent, how we hire people, how we think about what's important for the way people work, really is rooted in our source code, how our leaders lead, right? And so we'd like to say these are the things that make Elastic. And I always say that there's tension here, right? There's both truth and aspiration, and we work somewhere in that middle ground. But it's really important that everyone can sort of look at these and think of these and make them their own. And so I wanted to share one of my favorite ones with you, which is as you are. And we talk about the importance of coming in all shapes and sizes. My favorite line of all our source code is that we all have an accent. And really, it's something that we do celebrate, and we want people to feel that they can come as they are. So that's just one piece of our source code. I'd encourage you to check it out. It really spans across kind of all different ways that we think about work, that we think about our lives. The source code, that as you are, really speaks, to our diversity, equity, inclusion philosophy. And I thought I'd take just a minute or so to talk about how we think about this at Elastic. And one of the things that was a real, I think, aha moment for me was thinking about how we talk about diversity, right? And it's not about individuals being diverse, it's about the composition of our teams and these differences between people within our teams and across Elastic, the sort of limitless dimensions that can define diversity. So that's really important as we think about kind of our aspirational goal of having our customers and communities and employees reflect, or the diversity of us as Elastic really reflects the diversity of our customers and communities across the globe. Equity is something we talk about a lot, and that's really about thinking about how do we make sure that our policies and how we think about things are equitable, right? That they're fair, and how we might think about healthcare, for example, in Europe might be different than the United States. So how do we think about this in an equitable way? So really using that lens as we look at policies and we think about our practices across the company is incredibly important. And then ultimately, we want to create an environment that's inclusive. This is so everyone can feel that they, again, can show up as they are and feel included. And so that idea of inclusion is one that I think is, we always like to say diversity is a journey. We have created these elastician resource groups as one step in that journey, which are really self-organized, organizationally sponsored, elastician-run groups around shared interest, affinity, our allyship. So everything from our Black identifying blasticians to our accessibles, which is our ERG that's focused on accessibility, whether it's from our policies, our recruiting processes, or the way that we design our software. Really thinking about these things in a really broad way is important. And ultimately, with our ERGs, we want to create these forums to discuss our initiatives and making sure that people have a place to raise their voice when they feel like something isn't going how they think it should be at Elastic. Another thing that we love to talk about is Elastic Cares. So I always like to say we're a very heart-centered organization. And I think that starts, with Shai and sort of his vision for many of these things. So Elastic Cares, when he became CEO, is one of the first things that we put in place. So we have a donation matching for all of our employees around the world, up to $1,500 a year. Volunteer time off. I think that's in my mind, one of our best benefits, where we encourage people to actually take time off and pay for that, right? Making sure that they can help out causes that are meaningful to them and their communities. And then finally, our nonprofit grant program, where we provide free cloud clusters to nonprofits. And we're also providing them to a wide variety of organizations, thinking about the open source community as well in that process. So Elastic Cares is something that over the last 3 years, we've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars and countless hours of volunteering to organizations around the globe. And we want to make sure that elasticians can do these things in communities that they care about. So here's the next 10 years. It's been a journey for sure, but I can't wait to see how it looks as we go from 3,000 employees to 5,000 employees to 10,000 employees and beyond. I hope you enjoy the community conference, and here's to the next 10 years.